Hey guys, this is Jeremy. I run an startup email marketing company, and welcome to my basement gym. In this series called Reps and Revenue, we're going to be going through a few different things. My journey in life, my fitness journey, my weight loss journey, my surgery, and also my new business. I can't wait to get into it. Let's get started. All right. So this right now is a rebuild season for me, right? So one of the things that happened to me is that, I had lost 50, 50, 55 pounds since May 1st, 2025. And as a result of that, I had a hernia on my, um, on my abs, abdominal muscle. So because of that, I had surgery earlier this month, February 2026, and I wasn't able to work out for a couple of weeks. And this is this is one of the important things is sometimes you need to rest, sometimes you need to recover, and sometimes you need to really just kind of rebuild, right? And that's what we're doing here is I'm rebuilding my strength. Um, yeah, so this is a rebuild season for me, and you know I'm not just rebuilding my strength, but I'm also rebuilding my business. And you know, one thing that we're gonna tell you here. Well, oh wait, hold on one second here. Forgot to start my app. So I'm using the Lifting app. I use it so I could track my reps, my sets, all that stuff that I'm doing here. And first thing we're gonna do here is a lat pull down. I have it set to 49 and a half pounds. So actually, let's go ahead and put it to 49 and a half. Let's see. It might be a little too heavy. I don't want to strain myself. Normally I could, like, before my surgery, I could do a lot more than that. But right now, I just want to, it's all about just kind of getting back into the good habits. And I don't want to put too much pressure on my, my, my hernia right here in my ab muscles. So just got to work smart and work strategically, so that way I could rebuild my muscles, rebuild my strength, and rebuild when it comes to it. Lightweight, still counts when it comes to it because when I first started working out, I wasn't lifting heavy weights. It was all about just executing, you know? It was about showing up every single day, working out and doing what I could. I didn't have this home gym. I didn't have any of this. So what I did was I worked out upstairs in my living room, and I did Apple Fitness. I did that every single night with just dumbbells. You don't need a whole setup like this, but it's a good way to kind of get everything going, right? So, you know, when I talk about rebuilding, I'm also talking about my business because I run a startup email marketing business, and we do a whole done for you email system. But you know, I'm starting that from the beginning, but I'm not actually starting that from the beginning. I previously owned Money Mailer, a direct mail business, and I'm using all of that information, all that knowledge to really help me with rebuilding this new business. Similar to what I'm going through with my health, with my surgery, when it comes to my health, I had been lifting before my surgery, but just because I was able to lift heavy weights then doesn't mean I can lift heavy weights now. And the same thing happens when I'm starting a new business. Just because I had, a business that was, making thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year, doesn't mean that I can start this way here. It's all about those reps, and sometimes the light weights really get you up to those heavy weights. And it's really, really important, And when we talk about reps, one thing that's important is how reps compound, right? So that's my rest timer right there, and we're gonna do another 8 reps. Hopefully I have a hard time talking and counting, so let's see if I can actually do this. But yeah, reps compound. One, two, three, 4. And I was kind of saying this before. I was doing light weights when I first started. You know, I was really worried about getting injured. And one of the important parts for me was just about not getting injured, not getting hurt, and doing the exercises right. That way I can make sure I'm doing the right things. But what I learned is that the most important part was not that well, I mean, it is important that I'm doing it right, but the most important part was really about me doing it, right? Because when I made it a habit, well, I made it a habit. And when I first started working out in I think it was June 2025, I did, 3 workouts a week. I did the Apple Fitness on the television, worked out 3 times a week, and that was it, you know. But eventually, I turned it to 4 days a week, then 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and I'm not quite at 7 days a week. I need to rest. Even God rested on the seventh day, right? So I always keep it important. Think it's important to make sure we don't do anything for 7 days. But the important part is, like, it doesn't matter how much weight I was lifting. It was about those reps and making sure I was getting that repetition in and making that habit stick. And that was like one of my concerns after the surgery, is that, like, man, I built all this foundation so that way I could, work out and lose this weight and get into shape and be the best looking I've been in my life, right? And now I have to stop working out for 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even 4 weeks, because of my surgery. And I was afraid to lose the habits that I built up. But the good thing is that I built that foundation. I built those reps, and those reps compound. And it's not just with working out where reps compound, reps compound in business too. And I'm seeing that with my email business. One thing with the email business is that, what we're seeing with our customers, we send out 2 to 3 emails per week. And, at first you get a few replies, you get opens here and there. But over time, you really see that compounding. And what does that mean? I think I can go heavier, by the way. I'm going to go heavier for my last set here. But yeah, what does that mean? It's showing up into your customer's mailbox 2 to 3 times per week. If you look at your mailbox, not everybody opens all their email, right? But the biggest companies, the best companies, and the most well-known companies, they're in your inbox every single day. They're in your email every single day. And you're not necessarily a big company, but you have to show up as well. And you can't just show up when you have something to, like, you want them to buy something. You have to show up and give them what they want, right? And sometimes that's education. Sometimes it's the social proof. Sometimes it is an offer, but sometimes just value that you have to give to them. But ultimately, you need to show up in every single day, or what I like to recommend is 2 to 3 times per week. That way you can really be on their mind as their customer. And the great part about those repetition, those reps that you're putting in with the business, is that those reps compound over time too. We're doing workout right here, and that way I can get stronger. You'll see the journey. You'll see right now, what is that? It says 99, but it's a 1 stack, so I think it's 45. But it doesn't matter what it is. The big goal is, in a couple months, that I'm further down the stack, and then eventually I have to use the pin. But that's the important part. Build that structure into place now, so that way when the unexpected happens, a surgery happens, You have to step away from the business. You go on vacation, everything, the foundation is there and you're good to go. All right, let's get these last 8 reps in. I did increase the weight, so let's do it. Let's go. I feel good, That's that was the hard part about the surgery. It's like I felt strong still. I did feel some pain in my stomach at times, but like I still felt pretty strong. And you know, last thing you want is like to irritate it, and then it's like even worse than it was before. I think that's 9. All right, let's do this last one. We'll mark that down as 10. We'll look at the footage, I guess, and see what it says. But not bad, my heart is moving a little bit, so that's good. All right. Great, great. So yeah, we talked about the foundation. We talked about the reps, and we talked about how I'm resetting in February 2026. But I didn't talk about the basement, right? And it's kind of interesting, because this is my basement gym. And the important part for me about the basement gym is that I'm here, I'm able to be here, and I'm able to be here with my kids and for my kids. I have 2 kids, one that's 2.5, and one that is 6, 7 months. So actually, he's a little bit older than 2.5. But anyway, that's not important, right? And maybe it is. Who knows? But either way, I want to be a role model for my kids. I didn't want them to see this heavy person, barely able to, play with them. I wanted to be the person, the dad that was out there running with them and pushing them harder and being the good example. And that's part of the reason why I got this home gym. All right, I got like 30 more seconds on my rest. I need to put some 25s on these, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. All right, so next up is what's next up? Let's find out. We're doing bent over rows. All right. It's been a while since I did these, but we're gonna go ahead and do them, and we'll see. Let me know if you guys got any critiques. I'm not no master here. Just normal guy at home, building a business, trying to be an example for his family, for his son and his daughter, trying to do the right things for my wife, and build up this email business. All right, let's see something here. But yeah, okay. All right. So, yeah, family is a big motivator for me. Let me just start my rest timer. Yeah, family is a big motivator for me. One of the things that I was thinking about was like being a role model. And that was the tough part about also working a 9 to 5 or working a 9 to 5 job is that like, I can't be available for them. That's even more reason for me to want to build this business because I want to be there when most parents can't be there. I read so much on X and online that like a lot of dads don't go to like their kids, games or shows or little school events. You know, I want to be the dad that's there. And I also want to be the dad that, shows them how to work out, shows them how to, do their finances and how to be an entrepreneur. So, I'm just trying to build these habits that they can copy every single day. and be an example for them. But, one of the important parts too is not being in the mood, right? And when you're not in the mood to work out, that's where these habits that I build up are super important. You know, you know, sometimes you just don't feel ready. You know, like with my business, you're just always prepping and like getting ready for that sales meeting, getting ready for that sales call, getting ready for that cold call, and you just build and build and build on the background, but you're never actually like doing anything. You got to go out there and do things, and that's what we're doing here. You know, I can't just sit down, and say, "Oh yeah, I had surgery, I got to rest." I got to build myself up, and it starts with these small habits. It starts with small, stack one day at a time, one day at a time, and that's what we're doing here. A workout yesterday, a workout today, and a workout tomorrow. All right, let's do 7 reps. I think I did 8 last time, but we'll do 7 here, and let's get it going. Today's a pull day, by the way, if you haven't noticed. All right, that's 7. That's cool. So, all right, my mic gets all messed up there. Hopefully, we're good. But by the way, today's pull day. The day before, which was yesterday, I did push day. That's actually where I did my test recording. I might actually upload that. If you're interested, let me know in the comments. But tomorrow is leg day. And leg day is one of my favorite days. Leg day is all about like building the building blocks. Like your legs take care of all your work throughout your day. And it's so important to have strong legs. So I'm super excited for that. So if you are rebuilding something like your business, your strength, your fitness, your health, your attitudes, your family, definitely subscribe. This is a long-term build. I'm gonna be here so that way you guys can see me. I'll be in my home gym. Who knows? We might go to other gyms as well. But subscribe and follow up with the journey. I'd love to hear about your journey too. So, all right. Let me tell you a little bit about my my weight loss journey, because this also ties into my fitness, but also into like habits and building the systems that you need in order to succeed, right? So back in May, I weighed 210 pounds, and 210 pounds, that was the heaviest I've ever been in my life. And that was like an eye opener. I went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, you gotta lose weight, because I had snoring problems, I had sleeping problems. We had a kid, I had another kid on the way, and it was just super concerning. We had my blood tests, my blood labs done, and I was pre-diabetic, man. And diabetes is in the family, so that was an eye opener, and something needed to change. So what I ended up doing was I wanted to make some changes in my life, but I've been working on it for so long, and it was kind of tough. I was glad the doctor prescribed me some medication to help me, with my goals. But also, one of the most important things to me was, doing some extra steps. And the extra steps that I talk about is weighing my food, right? And weighing my food really was a difference maker, because that really opened my eyes to like how much food was I eating. the meal that I ate today, I ate it was linguine pasta with chicken, tempura chicken. It was chicken breasts, tenderloins, um, and then it's in a teriyaki sauce. So before, well, my first time doing it, when I was my first time doing it and weighing my food, I thought I was having 2 servings of pasta. I was having 4. I knew how much chicken I was having because that's in a packaged, a container. So I knew I was having a pound of chicken. But like I thought I was having 3 servings of teriyaki. I was having 10. So I'm having like 3 times the amount of carbs and calories than what I actually thought, than what I thought I was having. So that ended up being a problem. And you know, it goes with a lot of things in life. You gotta track the data. I'm a data guy, and that's why you see me here. I'm on my phone. I got my app here on my watch because I'm tracking my weights. Even though I'm not lifting as heavy as I used to be, I need to know where I'm at. I know some people use a notebook. Some people, use just a regular app. I'm using the lifting app. I've tried a few other apps as well. This is the one I'm using right now. But yeah, this app just helps me keep track of it, and helps me understand where I'm at progressing, because some days I'm able to do, what is this, 85 pounds. Some days I can only do 75 pounds. But just because one day I'm doing 75 pounds doesn't mean I'm all of a sudden weaker. It just means it's just an off day. But if there's multiple days where I'm only able to do 75 pounds, then that might be a problem, something to take a look at. But how would you know unless you're tracking it? And the same thing with food, and the same thing with business. With business, with emails in particular, there's a couple things you want to look at. And with your emails, you want to look at your delivery rate, right? You want to make sure these emails are actually getting to people's inboxes. Sometimes you might have the wrong email address. Sometimes you might have some dead emails, or some email boxes that are just full. One thing I noticed is a lot of people's email boxes are just full. They're at capacity. And as a result, they can't receive any more emails. You got to mark those email addresses for something else, for another campaign or something, because that's hurting your delivery rate, and that's an indicator for spam. Another piece of data you want to track are your open rates, right? And open rates are one thing that you can, hold on one second here. Open rates. Open rates, when you track your open rates let you know how many people are opening up your emails. So that way you can see which subject lines are really resonating with your customers. And that's kind of important too, because you need to look at your subject lines and see which ones are being opened, right? And understand why they're being opened and follow that trend. And the thing with with anything nowadays is that just because something works today doesn't mean it's going to work 3 months from now. And that's why you always got to be tracking that data. Another thing you want to look at are your click rates and your reply rates. That all depends upon your email. But all this to say how important your data is, right? So I track my food. I was eating twice as much, 3 times as much as I thought I was eating. And that's the number one thing that I attribute a lot of my weight loss to, is because I was tracking my food. I was putting it into an app. I was using MyFitnessPal at the time. Now I'm using Macro Factor. But either way, I wasn't using it to count calories, because I hated counting calories. That was the worst for me. I really absolutely hated counting calories. Like if I was hungry, I want to eat, right? But what tracking the food that I ate on the app did was it just kept me aware of what I ate already today and where I'm at for the day. All right, so my next workout are one arm dumbbell rows. Interesting. I did a row over here and I'm doing a row back to back. I should probably change that next time. But we're going to do 12 reps at 20 pounds on each arm. So let's see if we can do it. I think normally I do like 30 pounds. So let's see what we can do. All right. So yeah, tracking the food was a game changer. And then tracking my workouts, important too. And I also track my blood test results, right? I found a great doctor. My doctor helped me with getting regular blood labs, you know, and that way I could keep track of where I'm at with my health journey. You know, I started off pre-diabetic, and then by 3 or 4 months later, I was completely out of the zone. I was no longer in the range of being diabetic, which is fantastic. But I still was obese. I still had some weight to lose. So I kept going, kept losing. Now I'm down to 155 pounds. So I'm pretty close to where I want to be. Actually, 155 is where I want to be in the long game, like afterwards. But I want to cut down to 145 because my first goal is to get down to like 12% body fat, which I know is extremely hard. But I'm gonna do it. That way I could get rid of some of the love handles and stuff like that. But in order to get to 12% body fat, you gotta keep those habits in place. You gotta do the reps. You can't just let like a surgery keep you down. After the surgery, well, I did. Well, the day of the surgery, I was just recovering, right? The day after, I recovered. Oh wait, I'm supposed to do the other arm. Silly me. But yeah, the day after the surgery, I just recovered. All right, sorry. The day after the surgery, I think I just recovered. But then after that, what I did was I started walking. I can't be working out, I can't be lifting weights, but I can walk. It's actually encouraged to walk. Now, one thing I hate is the cold, and I live in New Jersey, and it was cold out here. I think it was like 10 degrees Fahrenheit. No, there ain't no way I'm gonna be walking outside with 10 degrees Fahrenheit. But what I did do is I set up my walking pad before my surgery and put it into my office. That way I could get a few steps in. And one thing that I'm really proud of, or happy that I did, was pretty much every single day after my surgery, except for like 2 days, because one day I was feeling pain again in my abs. It wasn't related to the walking, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it was related to the way I slept. But I had some pain, so I was like, all right, I need to rest. And then the other day was because I had food poisoning from from a local restaurant. So that took me out too. But all the other days, before and after the surgery, I made at least 10,000 steps. And not only that, let me see here. I just want to check because I keep track of my data, right? I got my Apple Watch that tracks my steps. And I have here, right? So February 1st, I have 9,000 steps. February 2nd, 19,000 steps. The day of my surgery, 3,000 steps. The day after my surgery, 8,000 steps. All right. Then the Saturday, the second day after that was 13,000 steps. So ultimately, I've been getting 10,000 steps every single day since my surgery, which is something that I haven't done. I did that in January, but I didn't do that at all in 2025. And that's important. Actually, I have my best day ever, which was actually 1 week ago, where I hit 24,000 steps in a single day. I even on days where I would walk New York City, and I went to a soccer game. I'm a season ticket holder for New York City Football Club. Um, Even on days when I would take the train from New Jersey to go to New York City, walk to the subway, walk to the stadium, go up and down the steps in the stadium, walk back, and do all this walking. Even on those days, I still would not reach 24,000 steps. So this is all at home, but it's because, you know what? I need to build a habit, man. Um, and you ain't gonna build any habits by not doing something. And that's the important part. With your business, you gotta build a habits. You gotta send the 2 to 3 emails per week. You gotta send them. Your customers are gonna forget about you. I mean, yeah, they might send referrals, which are great. They might see you on Facebook, but you gotta rely on Facebook or other social media platforms to promote your posts, which they're not really a big fan of doing unless you pay them, right? And the thing with paying them is, I lost count, is you're competing with everybody. You're competing with competitors. You're competing with new people in the space. Everybody's competing there. But the email, oh, and don't forget, they got all these policies that you can get banned for. And then all of a sudden, your entire audience, gone. But that's the great part with email. You own your email list. You own your customer list. And those customers have already, most of the time, already consented to hear from you. But most of you aren't sending them any emails. They are not hearing from you. And they want to hear from you. Because who knows, if you're in the HVAC business, for example, you know what happens when somebody's heat or air condition goes out? They go right to Google and they look for an HVAC company. They call the first person on Google and they see if they're available, right? If they're not, they go down to the second person and keep going until somebody's available right now. But why does it have to be that way? If you showed up in their email box every single day, they would think about you first. They wouldn't even have to search Google because they'd be like, oh, I remember that guy. I remember John's HVAC company. Let me call them. I also work with personal trainers, right? Personal trainers. And it's the same thing, Not everybody's ready to commit to working out today. But what ends up happening is you just stop communicating with them. Actually, one of the personal trainers that I work with, they actually said, because we were getting replies from this one guy. He was replying to almost every single email, which was fantastic. But the trainer was like, oh yeah, that guy, he hasn't committed. He's been talking about doing it for months, but he hasn't committed yet. But I'm like, look, this is great because he's engaged. And you know what that means? That when he's ready to commit, where is he going to go? He's going to go to you. He's going to go to your personal training service. He's not going to go to anybody else. He's not going to go on Google. He's going to go to you. And why? It's because you're in front of his mind. And that's super important because there's so many different options out there. Even if you think you're in a niche category, there are other options out there. So super important to be there, show up. We've also done work for landscapers. Landscapers, super competitive space where you're really racing to the bottom for pricing most of the time, just to acquire a customer. But for landscapers, the number one service you want to get is like the hardscaping, where you're making like patios and decks and things like that. That's where the money is. And that's not something that you just let, like a homeowner is just going to like wake up one day and be like, oh yeah, we're going to do this and we're going to get one quote and that's it. That's not how it works. It's something they think about. They usually have to consult with their spouse, family members, and who they end up calling? Referrals and people who show up, people who are in their email box, right? I've even heard and seen homeowners who have a landscaping company that cuts their grass every single week, but they went with another company to do the hardscaping. Why? Why is that? Well, because they didn't know that the people who cut the grass can also do the hardscaping, right? How are they supposed to know when you're not telling them? And that's where sending 2 or 3 emails a week is super helpful for you, because you can just show up and tell your customers what you can do, but also, more importantly, provide them value. Tell them how they can do it. Because you know what? It's hard, right? For example, if you want to send your own email, what you got to do is you got to set up a mailing system service. Then you got to import your entire customer service list. Then you have to validate the entire email addresses. Then you have to come up with 2 emails every single week. Every single week. And then if you really want to like be special and more focused, then after that, you have to have some automations in place. So that way when people reply, they can get an auto response back. That way when people reply, you can tag them automatically. So that way you know what they reply to. So that way if they're interested in, let's go back to HVAC. If you're an HVAC company and they reply back about, a question about their air ducts, and how to clean their air ducts themselves, and they have a clarifying question, now you know they're interested in air ducts, and you can send them that specific information. So that's called segmentation, right? So you could segment your customer list. There's so many things you can do just when it comes to email that we do for you, which is great. But tell your customers how to do it themselves, because it's not easy, right? If you're a landscaper and you tell them they have to go to Home Depot and buy hundreds of bricks, then they have to, till the ground and clear the ground, then they have to level the ground, then they have to put sand on the ground, then they have to put bigger rock on the ground. That way they could lay their paver stones finally. Most people are going to hear all of that. Some people are going to do it, right? Which is great, good for them. And if they get it wrong, who they're going to call? They're going to call you. But most people are going to be like, wow, that's a lot of work. And it's a lot of time, because like if one person is going to do it, it's going to take a lot of time. But you still tell them how to do it, and they're going to trust you. They're going to trust you. They're going to want to do it. They're going to want you to do it because you already showed them that you can do it. You already told them that you can do it. All right, next workout here, second to last workout, is the face pull. So we're going to do, it says 13 reps at 22 pounds. I don't know if that's right, but we're going to try it out. I'm going to rotate the camera here. All right, let's go. Face pull. So yeah, another example of like ways that you can educate is like personal training, right? You could tell them workouts that they can do at home. Like, hey, look, if you don't have any weights, here's a quick at-home workout that you can do. Grab a gallon of milk, or do 10 body weight squats, then do some lunges. You can do some jumping jacks, jump ropes. Give them a small at-home routine. Give them a routine that they can do if they have dumbbells. Maybe even recommend some dumbbells for them in case they want to get some. Be their trusted expert. So that way, you've already helped them so much that when they are ready to buy, they're going to go to you first, because you already helped them. You already showcased your knowledge. You don't have to prove anything to them. That's where the email comes in like really, really handy. And that's the great part about like just marketing in general, is that like you have so much opportunity to provide value. And that's one thing about my company, Fat Empire, that we want to do is our mission is to be a positive impact in our local communities, both our physical local community and our digital online community, right? So I grew up on the internet, and it's important to me that I also, help out those people who are a part of my online communities. So like you guys who subscribe, you're part of my online community, and that's important to me. So thank you very much for that. Those of you who engage with me on X or anywhere else, any other platform, means a lot to me. And I want you guys to succeed just as much as I want to succeed too. And the way we can succeed is by being a positive impact, and we can give people value, tell people how to do it. So that way the people who want to learn, they can learn. Because you know what? If you help other people grow, they're going to help you grow as well. I strongly believe that. Same thing with my muscles, right? So, I'm over here working out. And I'm working out so I could be an example for my family. And I know if I'm an example to my family, the rest of everybody else in my family is going to follow. I don't have to ask my wife I don't ask her to go work out. I don't ask her to lose weight. I just lead by example. Of course, I do the cooking at home. I weigh the food, so it makes it a little bit easier. But even still, the whole idea here is I'm leading by example, and I'm showing people, my family, what I can do. I'm showing people at my church, hey, look, like they're asking me because I didn't tell anybody, I lost 55 pounds. They could see it, right? They see me every Sunday, sometimes more often, but they see me every Sunday. And, the people who are close to me, like, hey, Jeremy, you okay? I'm like, yeah, man, why do you ask? Like, well, I lost a lot of weight. I'm like, oh, thanks for noticing. Yeah, I've been working out. I've been, really focused on losing my weight. And then he asks, how do you do it? I tell him, I got the home gym in my basement. I weigh my food, but I'm motivated too, One other thing I think about a lot, or I thought about a lot when it came to this weight loss journey, was how most of the times when I look at like the executives in companies, most of the times, most of the executives and companies tend to be really in shape, right? And it got me thinking, why are most of the executives and most of the higher ups in these companies, why are they all in shape? What do they have in common? Why well, and then some of them, of course, are really out of shape, which is a little bit, different, but the majority of them are really in shape. And why is that? It's because they're disciplined. And it's like the first example, it's like your first impression when people see you. If they see somebody who's, no offense to people who are overweight, but like there are preconceived notions that happen. And when you see somebody who's in shape, they are disciplined. And that was important for me for running my business. If I'm running my business and I'm making a first impression, I needed people to see, get a good first impression of me. Because if they see somebody who's 210 pounds, and overweight, way overweight, obese, that's not a great first impression. They're not even going to be sure. Like if he can't be disciplined by, with his food, with his diet, with his fitness, with his health, how is he going to be disciplined with his business? Now, I don't know if that's how people actually thought, because nobody said that to me directly, but I wouldn't be surprised if people think that way. There's a lot of things people think about that don't say out loud, which is great because, right, you don't want to be rude. But the way you gotta think about it is like that first impression only happens once, and you see somebody who's jacked versus somebody who's obese, you're gonna know that the jacked person can deliver on what they're, or you're gonna, not know, I should say, you're gonna more strongly believe that that jacked person can deliver on his promises versus the overweight person. So yeah, that was part of my motivation too. And all of this to say is that, you know, today this workout is about building my foundation for this channel, right? I got one more workout here. We're gonna do hammer curls. We're doing 12 reps at 15 pounds, 3 sets. But yeah, this video is all about setting my foundation, right? Let's start it. I put in a lot of work before my surgery, from May through January 2026. May 2025 to January 2026, I lost 50 pounds. And it wasn't by accident. It's because I put in the reps. I built the foundation. I put in I focused on what was important to me. And it was both losing weight, getting fit, and doing the right things for my family, and building the right business for me. And that's why I'm so passionate about email, because email, it gives us an opportunity to really be in front of our customers. And I love the fact that what I offer is a way for busy business owners to not have to worry about it. I do it all for them, right? I do it all for you. So you don't have to worry about setting up your email box. I do that for you. You don't have to worry about writing the email. I do that for you. I track your data. I understand what's working. I send reports. We segment your customers. We reply on your behalf. There's so many things. If somebody wants to meet with you, we send that to you immediately as well. All those things, all done for you. So we're not putting more on your plate. We're taking things off your plate, and giving you more value in return. Keeping your customers engaged, keeping you in front of your customers, super important. My workout foundation, it's important for me to show up every single day when it comes to working out. I couldn't work out for 3 weeks, under doctor's orders, right? And it was painful, not in the physical pain, but emotional or in my thoughts, because I was afraid I was gonna lose my habit. I was so used to working out every single day, and it ended up being, a fear of mine that I was going to just lose this habit. But the good news is that because I built out that strong foundation, it made coming back yesterday, today, and even tomorrow for leg day easy. And even while I was out of it, unable to lift, what I did end up doing was I ended up walking, doing similar action, taking motion, taking activity, so that way when I was ready to do lifting again, that I'm ready to go, and that my body isn't weak, because putting in those reps is important. And then with my food, my health, right? Still weigh my food every single day. I try to eyeball it still. I've been doing it, for 7, 8, 9 months now, right? I've been doing it for 9 months, and I still can't always accurately eyeball. I'm getting closer, but man, my eyes deceive me when it comes to my food, because I still try to, I try to eyeball it. I weigh my food, but I'm still off, man. I still put too much or way too little. Way too little is just as much of a problem too, because you need to keep your nutrition up. You can't be under eating, because if you're under eating, then you're not going to grow your muscles. Your body's going to go into starvation mode. That's when people start losing their hair, losing their muscle mass. It adds a lot of stress to your body that's not necessary, when you could just be eating the right amount, which is also, in my opinion, more fun, right? But yeah, I still weigh my food, and I can't get it right all the time. But once I can get it right all the time, then I don't need to weigh my food. But who knows when that's gonna happen? But that's another part of my foundation that I put into place. I bought 2 scales. I have 3 scales in the house. One that's in the kitchen. One, it's wireless. It's pretty cool, right? You got one piece. I'll put the link in the description for these scales in case you want to like get a food scale yourself. They are affiliate links, so they help support the channel. But just in case you're interested, but the one scale I have is it's a wireless scale, and this one is for my kitchen, because the I wanted to put stuff on the scale that wasn't going to cover the numbers, right? Because a lot of the scales that I had and the other ones that I have, the numbers are on the scale itself. So I needed one where the scale was separate from where the numbers show. So I have that one in the kitchen. I have another scale that is in my office. That way I can measure my snack foods, right? Because that's another one where I do horrible. I think I'm having 100 grams of wasabi peas or edamame snacks. And man, I cannot eyeball it for my life. So I still have this scale there where I put my little cup on top, and I pour my snacks in, and I know exactly how much food I'm eating. And then right now, I still eat what I want to eat, but then I'm making a conscious decision. Hey, look, I'm choosing to eat more than what I originally intended to. Instead of just thinking I'm eating like okay, because I'm not eating okay. Well, I'm eating more than what I wanted to, but that's my decision. That's my choice. And that ultimately what that means is I got to do more workout. I got to, adjust my food, or I got to adjust my calories somewhere else throughout the rest of my days, right? If I wanted to eat more late night snacks, then maybe I got to cut out some snacks during the afternoon. Or alternatively, if I want to eat more late night snacks, one thing I might have to do is eat more protein earlier on in the day. That way I'm not hungry at night. Lots of different options, and we'll definitely talk a lot more about that over the next few episodes here. But I'm super excited for leg day. We're gonna have leg day tomorrow in our next video. For me, it's tomorrow, but for you, it's my next video. I love leg day. I know most guys don't love leg day, but I love leg day because I really want to keep my foundation strong. For me, it's important that I can do more with my legs, whether it's my quads, my hamstrings, my glutes, or my calves, just even like the rest of the lower body a little bit too. Super important for me to be able to like do that, because I feel like we use our legs every single day, and it's important for me to be able to keep that strong. So yeah, I just enjoy leg day. I enjoy how it makes me feel. We'll see how it is with me recovering, but I want to thank you guys for watching. Definitely stay tuned. Let me know what was your favorite part about this video in the comments below. Like this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Reps and revenue. Appreciate you guys. Peace.